How do you create a unique Pokemon team? Pokemon team building is one of my absolute favorite aspects of the entire series, and it's basically what separates Pokemon from every other game out there. There's really no other RPG franchise that gives you this much freedom in building your own party of characters. But let's also take a quick step back and really ask ourselves just how unique we can make our Pokemon teams. I mean, obviously, if we bring in a team of 4 Weedles, a Drowsy, and an Aerodactyl into the Pokemon League, then yeah, that's a pretty unique team, and you're probably the only person to ever do that. But what if we put a few parameters on our team building and see if it's possible to create a unique team, and more importantly, a functioning team for a proposed playthrough of a Pokemon game. Also, real quick, I do want to say that this video took a ton of work, and if you guys find it at all interesting, can you take a second to leave a like and subscribe and let me know if you enjoy the video at all. So thanks, and let's go ahead and get on with it. For this little experiment, we're going to be taking a look at the original Pokemon games, Red and Blue. And if you guys are interested in this video, leave me a comment down below and let me know so I can maybe do something for other games in the rest of the series. But for now, let's go ahead and get back to our unique team building criteria. First and foremost, this team needs to be practical for a standard playthrough of Pokemon Red and Blue, meaning you'll encounter these Pokemon naturally along your journey and not all in Victory Road or the post game. And this unfortunately also means that we need to consider HMs when making a team. And in Gen 1, that means we're going to need Pokemon that can learn Cut, Flash, Strength, and Fly. And Surf. Yeah, somehow I forgot to mention Surf, but obviously it's like the most important one, so whoops, my bad. And for the last two, that basically just means that we're required to have a Water and a Flying type somewhere on the team. And speaking of typings, we should probably make sure to keep an eye out on Pokemon types regardless of HMs. We need to make sure we have good type coverage without any overlapping types on the team itself. The next rule is a bit of a weird one, and it really doesn't need to be followed for most Let's Plays out there, but I'm going to try to avoid any overlapping colors. What do I mean by this? Well, let's take a look at this team. Sure, it follows the first two rules pretty well, but look at those colors. I mean, they all just clash way too often in my opinion. And yeah, I know this criteria is a bit weird, but it's a rule that I try to follow, and one that I'll do my best to follow in this video as well. Also, did you guys know that there's actually an official color listed out by Game Freak for every single Pokemon? I didn't know this was a thing till after making the video, but I went back and checked, and every single Pokemon on my unique team is a different color, so we're all good there, and I just think this is kind of neat. Alright, well, those rules really aren't too bad. Let's go ahead and try to build a team. How about something like this? Yeah, okay, actually that looks like a really solid Pokemon team with some great Gen 1 staples like a Charizard, a Raichu. Oh, wait. Oh, yeah, I actually did forget a rule that makes all of these Pokemon completely unusable. What rule is that? No trainer overlap. This is the rule where we get really serious with the term unique team building, as it ensures that our final team composition doesn't contain any Pokemon on it that are used by another trainer in Pokemon Red or Blue. For example, let's look at our proposed team once again. We all know about Lieutenant Surge's iconic Raichu, Erika's Vileplume, Giovanni's Rhydon, and Lorelai's Lapras. But what about Charizard and Tauros? Lance doesn't use a Charizard in Generation 1, and I can't really remember a notable trainer using a Tauros. Well, unfortunately, when I said no trainer overlap, I really meant it. A Tauros happens to be used by this trainer in the Viridian Gym, and this powerful cool trainer in Victory Road uses a trio of starter middle stage evolutions and one singular Charizard. So if we used either of those two Pokemon, then we really wouldn't be very unique, now would we? But what options does that really leave us? Given how many trainers there are in Red and Blue, are there any Pokemon out there that would be truly unique to just us? Yeah, there actually is a pretty surprising little select group of Pokemon that are eligible for this criteria. However, very few of these Pokemon would have their entire evolution line available as well. So we're only going to be looking at the final stage of each Pokemon, essentially making sure we have a completely unique team when it's entered into the Hall of Fame. Trust me, I know it'd be cool to use a party of Pokemon that aren't owned at all by any other trainers, but even the cool trainer in Victory Road that I mentioned earlier would make all 3 starters immediately unusable if we followed the rules that strictly. So now we're just left with a group of only 12 unique final stage Pokemon that aren't used by any other trainers in Kanto. Let's try to build a team. To kick things off, we gotta pick a starter. I already mentioned that Charizard is unusable thanks to that cool trainer in Victory Road, but what about the other 2 Pokemon? Blastoise unfortunately follows a very similar fate, as another Victory Road Cool Trainer caps off his team of Water-type Pokemon with a Blastoise. But thankfully, Venusaur doesn't follow their trend, as the only other trainer that would use a Venusaur is your rival, and that's only if you picked Squirtle. But we're not going to be in that scenario, because of course we're going to be picking Bulbasaur ourselves, and this is going to be our first team member for our very unique squad. Now, our starter Pokemon Bulbasaur will be our only Pokemon for a little bit of time, but we're going to be gaining 2 new team members fairly early on in Mount Moon. These 2 Pokemon will be Clefairy and Geodude. Yeah, surprisingly, no other trainer in the game uses either a Clefable or a Golem, meaning that they're perfect candidates for our team. Now, I should probably warn you that Clefairy is a very rare encounter in Mount Moon, so it may take some time to find, but I would argue a Clefable is definitely worth it. So we're going to go ahead and move on with our trio throughout the game up until we get to Celadon City, where we're going to get a double pack of both Eevee from the Game Freak building and buy a Firestone from the department store in order to evolve it into a Flareon, which is of course going to be our 4th team member. Now the cool thing here is that we can technically evolve Eevee into any of its 3 evolutions in Generation 1, but for this example, we're going to be going with Flareon and leave our team open for a different electric type and water type that we'll be catching pretty soon. The water type in this example is none other than Poliwag, which we can capture with the good rod we get in the 5th gym's town of Fuchsia City. And yeah, we probably should have bought a water stone at Celadon as well for our unique Poliwrath. Thankfully, Chuck does not exist quite yet, so Poliwrath is going to be our water and fighting type powerhouse. Now, if we look at our team so far, you'll probably notice a pretty decent flaw that I mentioned earlier in the video. We need to fly, and trust me, if we were able to catch a Pidgey or a Fearow or something, we would have done so way earlier. In fact, almost every flying type in the region is used by those pesky bird keepers. No, not that one. So what options do we really have left? Are we supposed to grab a level 5 Pidgey that knows Fly from our PC every time we're supposed to go somewhere? Well, thankfully there are 3 very powerful flying types that aren't used by any other trainer in the game. Of course, that's these 3. Now, I know a lot of people tend to avoid using legendaries on their Pokemon teams, and trust me, if there were any other options out there, then I 100% would go with them. But if we're planning on building a truly unique team, then we do have to use one, namely Zapdos. To be completely honest, Articuno is my personal favorite of the 3 birds, but the color matchup may be a little bit too close to Poliwrath's blue skin. Sure, it's fairly different and you can use an Articuno if you want to, but for the sake of trying not to break my own predetermined rules here, we're going to go with Zapdos. Zapdos can conveniently be captured as soon as you obtain Surf after beating the Fuchsia City Gym and heading to the power plant right off Route 9 and 10. So really you could have completed your entire team by the time you only have 5 badges. But do keep in mind that Zapdos is a level 50 encounter. If this is too high for your team at the time, you might fail to catch him or feel a little bit too reliant on him by having such a high level Pokemon that early on in the game. So there you have it. Here's our final team of 6 Pokemon that are comprised of completely unique Pokemon that no other trainer in the game uses. And if you ask me, I think that's actually really cool. And I do think we still follow our criteria we set ourselves earlier, as we don't have any overlapping types, all HMs are learnable, and we have a completely different color palette for every Pokemon. And they're all encountered before too late in the game. Everything checks out for a pretty fun playthrough of Gen 1 Kanto. We have built ourselves a unique in-game squad of 6 Pokemon that seem very capable of taking on the entire game. So what do you guys think? Did we succeed in our mission? Or have I missed a very giant flaw that makes this entire proposal completely collapse? Because trust me, that's very possible. And while I have you, I may as well reveal the entire list of eligible Pokemon I used to team build around. Now, there are a couple quick things to keep in mind when I show you this list, such as you can only choose 1 evolution or you can only pick 1 fossil, but there's still a really cool chunk of Pokemon here that I think would be really fun to use on the team, such as a Snorlax or an Amistar or something like that. But with that said, I'll leave it up to you guys. What proposed team do you think would be unique in Pokemon Red and Blue? Let me know down below. Also, let me know if you're interested in other games in the franchise, because there's a lot I could do with this series, but it was a lot of work even for just Pokemon Red and Blue. Also, I have gone ahead and checked, and this team does not work the same way in Red and Blue as it would in Pokemon Yellow or Fire Red and Leaf Green, unfortunately, so I'd have to do an entirely new video for those games, but I feel like it'd be more interesting to do another video on Pokemon Generation 2, the Gold, Silver, and Crystal games. But let me know in the comments down below what you'd want to see next, and hopefully you guys actually enjoyed this concept at all. So thank you guys for watching, I really do appreciate it. I'll see you guys in the next one. Make sure to like and subscribe. See ya, and bye-bye.